Join me for this nice short flow to help recover post-run. We're going to start by using a yoga block or an elevated platform. If you haven't got a yoga block, you could just use a plate, anything that you're going to raise the top of your foot up on and keep the heel down. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes per movement. So for this first one, toes are elevated, heel is down. You can just gently lean your weight forward, slightly feel that stretch into the calves. You can also just elevate your toes up against the wall or use like a rig upright. We can keep the legs straight and just feel that stretch into the calves. We're also going to add some hinges and folds in this position. You don't have to be able to touch the floor. So all I want you to do is hinge at the hips, bring the hands down to where you can, and then stand back up again. And each time, maybe you can start to go a little bit deeper. Doesn't have to be super explosive and fast. You can just move nice and slow and steady. And then from the front, we're now going to change that and go to the inside of your foot. So hinging over, back to the inside with a few here. From there, we'll go to the outside. Remember, if you can't touch the floor, just go partial range. From here, let's go to the outside of the foot. So working into calves and hamstrings. Let's go back to the front once more. Maybe you just want to hold it here for a bit. You could obviously elevate your hands a little bit higher, maybe on top of blocks or a chair. And then let's switch to the other side. So raising toes up on the other foot. Start by just gently leaning forwards into that stretch, pressing the heel down, pulling the toes up. And then you can stay here for as long as you like. Otherwise, we're going to add those hinges and reaches on this side as well. So let's start by just reaching down in front, hinging at the hips, coming down just to where you can, standing back up. Then we're going to go to the inside. Great movement to just help recover, release tension in your calves and your hamstrings. Also, good tool to help with your ankle mobility. Let's go to the outside. And we'll go back to that front position again. Maybe you want to hold it down here. Otherwise, keep moving out or in and out, or elevate your hands. And from here, we're going to release. This time with 1 or 2 blocks, don't worry if you've only got one. We're going to bend the legs. We're in a hinged position, so I'm maintaining this neutral position in the spine, not rounding out. So think about slightly tilting your pelvis forwards. And with the knees bent, we're now just going to extend one leg, bend the knee again, extend the other leg, bend the knee, and just keep alternating side to side. What you can do, if this feels quite easy, is just lower your hands a little bit more, maybe going down on the yoga blocks, or perhaps you don't need the blocks, and bring the hands onto the ground. But use those blocks if you've got the hands on the floor and then you're really overly rounding to force that position. And as we move to recover here, just breathe gently in and out of your nose. A couple more. And then from here, Come all the way up. We're just going to roll down and bring ourselves into a downward dog. So just tuck your chin, roll down through your spine, nice and slow. Bring your hands to the ground, bend your legs, and step back into a downward dog. So knees might need to be bent here. You can also work through those leg extensions from your downward dog, but we're not going to stay here for too long. We're just going to go into some lunges to loosen off hips and hamstrings. So right foot's going to step up between the hands, back knee lowers. You can use your yoga blocks again, either side of that front leg, and all we're going to do is move back and forth. So hips go back, front toes pull up, and then hips open at the front. And you can stay here for as long as you feel you need to. You don't have to move dynamically. You can just hold the stretch, squeeze the glutes, press the hip open, even come up all the way to the top and hold that stretch. Lots of different variations that you can work here to get into the hips. So maybe even from this deep lunge position, pull the back toes up, reach the opposite arm back. Looking over that shoulder, a nice way to work into the mid upper back as well, and shoulders, which can get super tight from running. Just breathe in and out of your nose, trying to rotate a bit more if you're in this one. Otherwise, staying in that lunge. We'll then go back with the hips into the hamstrings a little bit more. The front knee can bend, hinge at the hips, just like we did in those standing variations. And that might mean you need to come all the way up here and just hinge to where you can feel the belly of the hamstrings, not pulling in the back of your knee. It can feel good to add some rotation here. So allowing the thigh to rotate, the foot goes in and out. Feel different areas in the hamstrings getting a stretch. A few more breaths. And then let's go back into the hips one more time. So do that once more in each position. So we're back into our lunge, squeeze the glute, press that back hip open. You can come all the way up to the top. You can even, in this top position, hold on to that back foot, which might feel way too intense, either on your knee or into the hips. So if it does, maybe you prefer the first option we did, reaching back with that opposite arm, adding that twist as well. Or if that's too much altogether, just leave that leg down and press that hip open. Back into the hamstrings once more. Hinging over, rotate the thigh. And then we'll come on to the other side. Back into a downward dog first. Step your left foot forward, lower the back knee, and use your blocks. Maybe just a little bit of movement in and out, hips and hamstrings, just like we did on the other side. And then stay in the hips at the front, tuck the bum under, press that back hip open. You can come all the way up, pressing that hip forward. At the same time as we're pressing this hip open by engaging the glutes, gently pull your front heel towards you. And you can stay here or add that twist, lifting the back foot, reaching back with the opposite arm, looking over the shoulder. You can come up higher onto that block. Squeeze your glute, keep pressing that hip open. And then release, we'll go back into the hamstrings again, once more in each position. Hinge over, gently push your front heel down. You can bend the front knee, and then let's rotate that thigh. Bring yourself back into the hips, any variation. Or maybe adding that reach. release, and all we're going to do is go to a tabletop, so you can just bring that leg back. To work into the upper body a little, we're going to, from this tabletop position, reach your arms quite far forward. So it's almost like you're going into a child's pose, and we're going to reach one arm underneath the other, thread it through. This top arm walks its way over as far as you can, and we're going to press through this bottom shoulder so we don't sink into the ground. If this feels too difficult to get into this position, you can just bring this top arm back and gently add a twist like that. Bring that arm back, same on the other side, thread it through. And then release. Let's hook or cross the ankles, sit onto our bum. One more just for the chest, which obviously you can get really tight upper body. So we want to loosen off through the shoulders, and that's going to help with our general flexibility or mobility as we run anyway. We want to squeeze the shoulder blades back towards each other, open the chest, fingertips point backwards, and then just send your hips forwards. Keep opening your chest, not allowing yourself to hunch over. And just stay here and breathe. Grip down through the fingers. You don't want to feel discomfort or pain in the elbows. So if you do feel that, make sure first of all you're gripping down. And if that doesn't help recover it, just bring your bum a little bit further back. Otherwise you can send it forward. Knees can be bent or straighten the legs. Gentle breaths in and out of your nose. And if you have got something like a pull-up bar or some rings you can hang from, I recommend giving yourself a minute or so to actually hang. Great for the whole body, really good for your shoulders. So just stay here for a few more breaths. To come back out, press through the legs. Have your feet quite wide, just go through some easy rotations into your hips. So leaning back, you don't have to sit all the way up. Just gentle internal, external rotations. You can hold it on one side, take a breath in. As you breathe out, trying to open up into that rotation a bit more. Don't worry if you don't get your legs all the way down to the floor. You might only move a little bit. So a couple of inches each way, just gradually start to work at improving that rotation in your hips. And our final little stretch to recover is to lie down and come into a reclining pigeon. You can do normal pigeon if you prefer to do this facing the mat. Otherwise, one leg on top of the other, let the thigh rotate out, and you can stay here or lift that bottom leg towards you, gently push the top leg away. You shouldn't get any pain in your knee, so if you do, then come out. And you can hold it here. It might feel nice to rock about a little bit. You can start to pull that leg in closer as you push the top thigh away. And we'll go on to the other side. Ankle on top of the thigh. Draw it in. Hug that leg in. Push the top thigh away. Keep it static or gentle rocks if that feels good. And then from there you can loosen off, rock your way up. And from a seated position, Might feel good, just one more little one to get into the outer thigh and hip. Take your leg over the top of the other thigh, hug it in with the opposite arm. So if your right knee is on top, the left arm hugs it in. If your left knee is on top, your right arm hugs it in. You're gonna add a little twist and rotate. Another great one to get into the mid upper back and shoulders as well as you add that rotation. But you should feel the outer hip and thigh. Just a couple of breaths here. Stay here for a little longer if you feel you need to be here for a little longer, if it feels good. And then same on the other side. Hugging it in with that opposite arm, adding a twist. And release. Hopefully you feel a bit better for that one, guys. If you've just been for a run, use that as a way to recover, and we'll see you for the next one.